Hi, welcome to the payroll demonstration of Kredily. In this video, we are going to understand how to add your settings, how to define your salary structures, how to process payroll, generate payslips, disburse the salary, and then download all statutory reports. To begin with, it's important that we go to the advanced settings to understand and also to add all the details that's needed for our organization. The first option is payroll settings. Payroll settings allows you to define very primary settings like pay frequency, which is going to be monthly, pay cycle, which can be any date from 1st to 31st, 20th to 19th, 22nd to 21st, any date that you prefer. So I'm going to set it as 1st to 31st. And payroll leave and attendance input cycle as well. This also can be according to your organizational preference. It could be 1st to 31st, 20th to 19th, any date as you prefer. Going to keep it as 1st to 31st. Your salary date, the payout date, it can be any date. I'm giving it as 1st of the month. You can also set a date of joining cutoff date for all the new joinees. This means a date after which the salary will not be added to the current month's payroll, but will be added to the next month. So this date can also be any date as per your preference. I'm going to keep it as the 20th. And now, if you're an organization who would wish to display decimal values in payslip, there's a toggle which you can turn on, or you can turn it off if you don't wish to go with this setting. Then the next sub-tab is your payday calculations. This sub-tab allows you to choose whether you want to include week-offs in your payroll, holidays in your payroll, and if you wish to go with fixed pay days. For example, if you want to just consider 30 days regardless of how many days that particular month is having, you can turn on this toggle. So that will only consider the number of days that you're going to enter here. And the next sub-tab is your access control. This allows you to choose whether or not to display the tax projections and tax computation to your employees. So just a yes or no toggle, you can choose as per your preference. And the next tab is PF and ESI settings. This is a very robust module. Kredily allows you to define your PF in a lot of ways. Let me show that to you. You should always give an effective date no matter what settings you do. It's very important that that the system remembers and implies the effective date for all the settings and the changes that you do in the system. So now you can define PF as 12% of basic, which is very standard. You can also say PF is 12% of the entire gross salary if you wish to go with that. You can also add a fixed formula, a fixed amount. In this case, I'm adding this as 25,000 per annum. Or you can define your own formula. So in this case, I'm choosing all the components that's needed: basic, special allowance, vehicle allowance, labor welfare fund, uniform allowance, any sort of allowances. Also choose the percentage on which the PF should be calculated. To keep it simple, I'm going to go with 12% of basic. Employer PF contribution will also be the same as your employee PF contribution. There is no need to define it separately. And system allows you to enable statutory minimum ceiling, which means PF will be clocked at 1800, which means PF will be calculated on 15,000. That's the value of statutory minimum as per the norms. You can also decide if PF should be loss of pay dependent or loss of pay independent. You can also decide if your employer PF contribution be included in the CTC or not. At last, we also have an option to choose whether or not the admin and EDLI charges of your PF be included in CTC or not. The next sub-tab is ESI settings. There's nothing much to play with. ESI can either be turned on or turned off depending on the salary of the employee. Statutory minimum monthly gross for ESI should be lesser than 21,000 for the employee to get ESI. As per the norms, employee contribution of ESI will be 0.75% of the gross salary. Employer contribution will be 3.25% of the gross salary. You can choose whether this should be included in the CTC or not. You can also choose whether this should be individually overridden for a certain employees or not. These are just toggles. Overview allows you to add a lot of other things to your employees' PF and ESI components. Now, you can add your PF number, UAN number, EPS number, VPF number, and the date from which the PF will be started for the employee. If there is a PF override, you can define a particular formula or add a fixed amount for that employee from right here. Whether you want to toggle PMRPY or ABRY, or do you want this to be on the statutory minimum value? Do you want EDLI charges to be applicable or not? All of these changes can be made inside your employee's profile and PF settings. Then you can also choose whether ESI or PF should be applicable or not for those employees. And you can add all ESI and PF related details through a bulk import by clicking on the import button here. This allows you to download an Excel sheet in which you will be adding all the details with regards to your PF and ESI. That sheet can be imported to Kredily, and Kredily will display all the details that you have added. The next tab is PT settings. This gives you an option to turn on or turn off PT depending on your organizational preference. But if you turn it on, you can choose all states so that simply system picks up the work location and deduct PT automatically depending on the PT slab for that particular state. You can then allow the system to override professional tax for certain users if that's the settings you want to go with. PT overview is a place where you can override professional tax for any employees. You can even change the state of which the PT has to be deducted for that particular employee. You can simply click on the edit button, even turn off PT if required, turn it on and change the states as per your preference. Then comes the declaration settings. This is where you will enable or you will add a window in which your employees can submit their investment declarations. So this is either monthly or yearly. Most of the organizations choose it to be a yearly window. But if required, you can also go with monthly. I'm keeping it yearly in this case. The window is between the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024. If you want, you can keep it as the 29th of Feb 2024 so that you have a 30 days buffer to make adjustments to the salary or the deductions. And then you can either apply this to all the employees or apply this to only selected employees. So in this case, I'll apply this to everyone. System understands who is a taxable employee and who is a non-taxable employee. Only the taxable employees are supposed to be submitting their declarations if they are choosing the no-tax scheme. And after this, system gives you an option to create all the components that's required for your organizational salary structure. There are 4 different types of components that you can create in Kredily. One is your base component. These are the components without which you cannot create a salary structure. These are your basic, HRA, PF, ESI, and special allowance. And remember, all base components are statutory oriented components. You cannot exclude them from the structure, and the definition will always be standard. The next type of component is recurring component. As you can see, we have created a lot of components. We have by default created all the presets that's used by most of the organizations. Yeah? But if you wish to create a different component of your choice, you can click on create component option and give a name to the component that you're creating. I'm creating a component which goes by the name January allowance. You can decide the type of the component as well. I'm going to keep it as an allowance. You can include this in CTC or exclude it from CTC. You can decide whether or not you need proof to add this component to the salary. You can either make it a taxable component or a non-taxable component, but by definition, all allowances should be taxable, so I'm going to keep it on. Should you override this component for a certain employees? If yes, you can turn on the individual override option. Should this be a loss of pay dependent component? If yes, you can turn on the LOP dependent option. Should this attract ESI? If yes, you can turn on the ESI applicable toggle. Now, when it comes to computing the value for this component, there are two ways of doing it. One, you can choose a flat value. When I say flat value, you can either add a fixed amount. I'm adding 20,000 per annum. This 20,000 will be divided by 12, and each month that value will be allocated to this component by default. Or you can even define a formula. For example, I'd say 10% of my CTC, or 10% of my basic, 10% of any other component that's there in the structure. So this is how you define a formula. So this is just a flat way of calculating this component. We also allow you to define slabs, multiple slabs, for you to compute value for this component. Per se, I have a slab where employee salaries between 0 to 3 lakhs. In that case, I'll say the component's value will be 10,000 per annum. And if the employee salary falls between 3 lakhs, 1 rupee to 5 lakhs, the value of this component will be 20,000. And if the salary is between 5 lakh 1 rupees to 10 lakh, then the value of this component will be 30,000. So you can create multiple such slabs. There's no limitation on that. And once everything is done, you can just hit the save button and this component will be saved. Just the way we created this January allowance, you can create any number of components. There is no limitation on that. The next type of component is variable component. Variable component typically means a component which varies month on month. It could also be 0, it could be a different value in the next month, or it could be a quarterly based component, or an annually based component, or a half yearly based component. So let us see how to add variable components or create variable components rather. To create variable components, click on the create component button. Create component option, then create a component. So I'm creating a component by the name Festival Bonus. And obviously Festival Bonus is an annual component, but if you wish, you can make it as a quarterly component as well, or a half yearly component as well. You can choose the frequency depending on your organizational preference. So I choose the payout frequency as annual. Include or exclude it from the CTC, it's just a toggle. Do you want this to be taxable or not? If you make it as a taxable component, you can also choose whether the tax should be deducted on that very month or it should be distributed across the rest of the financial year. I say I'll deduct it on that very month itself. And do you want this component to be prorated from the time of your employees joining? Do you want this component to be prorated on the number of days worked in that particular financial year of your employee? So if yes, you can toggle the prorate option. And when should I give this component, or when should I add this component in my employee's salary? That's the due month. I can choose the due month here. So I'm giving festival bonus, so mostly festival falls in the month of October or November. I'll say November. So this component will be automatically added to my November month's payroll. If you want this to be individually overwritten, it's a toggle. Please choose accordingly. Should this component attract ESI, choose it accordingly. You can create any such components. You can create annual variables, quarterly variables, half-yearly variables, and monthly variables as well. For example, if you're dealing with incentives, monthly incentives, we have already created a component called as monthly incentives. You can use this preset. Monthly incentives, by default, the payout frequency will be monthly, and you can add the maximum value, but while running payroll, you can reduce the value of this component as well, because by definition, it's a variable. The value could change. So please go through these presets and use these components according to your preference. The last type of component is ad hoc component. Ad hoc by definition means something which is not defined in the structure, something which is not a part of your salary structure. There could be both ad hoc earnings and ad hoc deductions. In ad hoc earnings, we have added a lot of presets, salary advance incentives, arrears, referral bonus, extra allowance, overtime allowance, a lot of things. If you want to add another ad hoc component, you can click on create component option. Type in the name of the ad hoc component that you want to add. I want to add an ad hoc component called as January arrears. I want this to be taxable. I want this to attract the SI. Save this, my ad hoc component is created. Now if you want to add an ad hoc deduction component, you can create that as well. Click on create component option. Add the component name. I'm going to name this as January deductions. And of course, I will remove this from the taxable account. Save this. So that's pretty much it about creating components in Kredily. The next option is the payout settings. This is where you will add your employee's bank details. You can click on the edit option and add all the details. Bank name, IFSC code, account number, branch name, everything. You can even simply click on Find Branch, add the IFSC code to find the branch of your employee's bank. And if you have an Excel sheet with all the bank details of your employees, you can simply import that by downloading Kredily's format. Always remember, Kredily allows you to bulk import any details through Kredily's bulk import option. You can see import and export in almost every tab of Kredily. Please ensure that you download Kredily's format, copy paste the data in Kredily's format, and import the same using the import button. Next option is your payslip settings. We have 8 different formats to choose from. You can explore all these formats and choose the one which suits the best for your organization. In this case, I have selected the first format as my company default payslip format. So always remember to set one of the payslip formats as your company default format. The next option is your bank integration. We have tie up with ICICI Bank. ICICI is our banking partners for the last 4.5 years, and we are their official HRMS partners. If you have a corporate bank account with ICICI, you can integrate that with Kredily with a few simple steps. You can just add your corp ID, login ID, and integrate your ICICI bank account with Kredily. I'll be sharing a dedicated video on how to use ICICI banking with Kredily towards the end of this video. But just to let you know, we have an option to disperse salary directly from Kredily's portal, directly from Kredily with ICICI bank integration. The next option is set a payroll. And under set a payroll, you can create salary structures by going to the create salary structure option. Now, this allows you to gather all the components that you have created to create a salary structure. You can create multiple salary structures as well, and there's no limitation on that. As you can see, I have created multiple structures. If you want to create another one, click on the create new structure option. Then it will ask you if you want to create a regular structure or a contractor structure. Contractor structure will only have two options. One is the professional fee as an earning. You can rename that if required. And the second option is a deduction component, which is an income tax deduction of 10% or even 7.5% if that's what you prefer. In this case, I'll go with the regular structure option. This has created a structure already, and as you can see, the statutory elements, the statutory components are already here. Basic, HRA, special allowance, PF and ESI. You can make changes to the structure as well. I'm going to rename the salary structure as January structure. You can add any number of components. Just click on add component option and choose all the components that you require. I'm choosing vehicle allowance, choosing other allowance, uniform allowance, and I'm going to add January allowance. and adding monthly incentive. Under deduction, I will add labor welfare fund and save the structure. To assign the salary structure, you can go to the assign structure option. Choose the employee that you want to assign the structure to. In this case, I'm choosing Amarnath. Select the employee. You can also select multiple employees. You can choose all employees if you require, or just a couple of employees, or department-wise employees, designation-wise, location-wise employees can be selected. I'll assign the salary structure to Amarnath Singh. I'll click on assign and select the salary structure that you want to assign and add an effective date. I'm adding this structure from the 1st of Jan 2024. It is successfully assigned to this employee Amarnath Singh. The same thing can happen with multiple employees as well. You can assign this to multiple employees. You can choose employees by location, by designation, and you can assign structures to them. To add CTC, you can simply click on edit and add CTC value here, or you can bulk import through Kredily's import option. Now, once this is set, you also have declaration settings to be taken care of. And this is where all your employees' declarations, proof submissions, all the documents which is related to your income tax will be seen or shown by the system. You can see the employees or list of employees who have selected tax schemes. A few of my employees have selected all tax schemes. If you want to go with it, you can simply approve it. If you want that to be changed, you can change it to a new tax scheme and approve it, or reject it and ask your employees to apply it again. And then you can see all the HRA related declarations and deductions as per section 80C and other exemptions. Deduction, this employee Sharma has declared a lot of things under form 80C. And in other exemption, there's nothing that this employee has declared. Income and loss from the house property. This can also be shown or seen here if an employee is uploaded their income or loss from house property. Then goes your LTA, income from previous employer, reimbursements if there are any. All of these can be added by the employee, and if an employee is added, all that will be displayed to an HR administrator or to the CEO in the system. And to run payroll, let's navigate to the run payroll section. The first thing in run payroll is the overview. System displays all the information and analytics that you need to understand before you process payroll for any given month. It is showing the number of employees that you're going to run payroll for, the total gross pay, net pay, your income tax that's getting deducted for the current month, PF that's getting deducted for the current month, ESI, professional tax, and if you have already made the payout, it will also show the payout status and the payslip generated for the number of employees. And you can also see the attendance and leave related information, meaning system tells you how many employees are clocking in on time, clocking out on time, how many employees are having anomalies, absence, and loss of pays according to your attendance rule. So here in this case, you can see a lot of my employees have not logged in for so many days in the current month. Abhijit has not logged in for 15 days, and system is taking 4 days as loss of pay. This will also consider the penalties that you have set in the attendance rule. You can see the same details for all the employees in your organization. If required, you can export this to an Excel sheet. And if you want to add loss of pays manually to your employees, you can import an Excel sheet as well. But let's say you want to add loss of pay for just one employee, you can simply click on the edit button, make changes to the loss of pay days, and save it. And same goes with the leave section as well. This displays all the employees' names who's applied for leaves for the current month, and it shows the status of the leave application as well. As you can see, a couple of leaves have been approved and 3 leaves have been rejected for the month of October. And you can also add hourly wage related details, daily wage related details, and job based related details. I don't have any employees in hourly wage or in job based wage, but if you look at daily wage, I have one employee whose salary is calculated as per wages. This employee Kumar, his daily wage is 270 rupees 97 paisa, and he's worked for 1 day, and he has an overtime amount of 38 rupees. And it is displaying all this information. If you want to make changes to it, you can click on edit and you can make changes to any of these details that you have already added in your salary structure. And then comes your salary revision section. This alarms you, notifies you whenever there is a salary revision for your employees. It's very important that you know and understand if there is a salary revision before you process payroll. System displays the old salary, new salary, and the percentage of salary that is incremented or decremented for that matter of fact, and from which date has it been changed. If at all you have not made this change, you can double check and revert it if required as well. So please ensure that you look at the salary revision section every month without fail before processing payroll. You can export this as well if required. And variable and ad hoc is a sub-tab which displays all the variable components that you might have in your salary structure. But I don't have any variable components for the month of October. But if you go to December, there is one variable component that's allocated to a couple of my employees. As you can see, there is a quarterly variable amount given to Dhruva Dikshit, and this is the amount that I'm dispersing for this employee. Let's come back to October, and let's assume you want to add an ad hoc component, an ad hoc payout, or an ad hoc deduction for the current month. In that case, please click on Add Employee, search the employee here. So I'm giving an extra incentive, or let's say I'm giving an extra bonus to this employee, Vishwanath Kumar. I'm giving 2,000 rupees as an extra bonus. And I'm going to add an ad hoc deduction to one of my other employee. To Haruna. I'm saying that the component type is deduction, and that is an earlier deduction. There's a deduction of 500 rupees. So this way you can add any ad hoc components that's required, be it be an earning or a deduction. You can add any number of ad hoc components in the current month's payroll. You can import it through an Excel sheet as well. And if you need these details to be referred manually externally, you can export it. And if you want to hold somebody's salary, you can hold the salary from the salary on hold tab. If you can see, I've already held 2 of my employees' salaries, Suman and Nitesh. If you want to add another employee to the list, you can click on Add Employee, add the name of the employee here, and change the status to on hold and save this. So this will hold that particular employee's salary for the current month. The last tab that we are going to look at is tax override. You don't really have to use this tab because Kredily calculates your income tax and professional tax automatically and precisely. But if you want to make changes for whatever reason, you can use tax override tab, and you can make changes to your income tax by just clicking on the edit button, add the value, and save it. Same with professional tax as well, but remember, if you have added your professional tax in the PT location, professional tax will automatically be calculated. You really don't have to make any changes over here. Just in case, you can click on the edit button and make changes to your professional tax as well. And then comes your pay register, and Whenever there is a change, system will indicate the changes in this bright amber color. As you can see, Aruna Devan, there is some ad hoc deduction. Vishwanath Kumar, I have given an ad hoc earning. So two of these employees' salary has been changed. There's an addition or a deletion in the component of these two employees' salary. That's why system is indicating them differently. So what I'll do now is I'll select them and click on calculate. This calculates the changes that I've made for these employees. So now if you can refer to Vishwanath's salary. So he's present for 31 days. He has 20 days loss of pay because he is absent. And this is the gross basic HRA. You will see the entire breakup: PF employee, PF employer, ESI, special allowance, tax, everything. You can export this for reference. And to process payroll, select all your employees or select whosoever you want to process payroll for. You can do this in batches as well. You can select employees belonging to a particular department and process payroll for them, or you can select all employees and process payroll at once. In this case, I'm processing payroll for all of my employees together. I'm excluding Kumar. Payroll is processed successfully. And once payroll is processed, payout tab will display the list of my employees whose payroll has been processed already, and I can initiate payment from this tab. Let's assume my ICICI bank account is linked with Kredily, so this will allow me to do the payout from this tab here. There'll be a button which says payout at the bottom. I don't see this button because I have not integrated my ICICI bank with this. This is just a demonstration account. And once payout is made, you can also generate payslips for all your employees. I'm generating payslips now. There's a button called Generate Payslips. Now, payslip is also generated for all of your employees. They will get a notification once this process is completed. They can log into their Kredily accounts and download payslips on their smartphones or on their laptops. And then once this is completed, you can also download statutory reports, your PF ECR, your PF bulk add. Well, whenever you're adding employees to your PF, you can download reports on bulk KYC, bulk exit of your employees, ESI oriented reports, consolidated reconciliation reports, consolidated net pay report, consolidated gross pay versus net pay report. All of these reports can be downloaded directly from Kredily. This is available in all standard formats: XMS, CSV, and TXT. So we have also given you the steps that you need to follow to submit these documents, submit these reports in your PF portal. We also have a JV output if at all you're using any accounting software to which you're uploading journal entries. We will also give you journal entries of all the components that you have created in your Kredily account. So please ensure that you check out the JV output as well, as this is going to be very important if you are using any accounting software. And we also have an option to generate Form 16. This is again a seasonal requirement for all companies. Now, if you would like to give Form 16 to your employees through Kredily, all you need to do is download Part A and Part B from Traces, upload Part A and Part B in the system, and generate Form 16 directly from Kredily, and this will send Form 16 to your employees as well. So notification will be sent out to your employees and they can download it directly on their smartphones. We also have an option for Form 24Q. Quarterly basis details will be displayed. Tax mapping will automatically happen in Kredily. Please ensure that you add the challan details so that you can download an extra 1 and extra 2 both in the system. This is all about the payroll module of Kredily. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You can write to us to support@kredily.com. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful time.